Hello friends, I'm Annie Dewick with the Wild Nest Art Studio, and this is pretty much where I hang most of the time. I also teach live classes. I really prefer live classes, but now it seems like everybody's transitioning to online, so here I go. I wanted to do a paper comparison, a synthetic paper comparison today, because there's a lot of new people into alcohol ink and they seem to be confused as to what substrate to use. Now, I am in no way endorsing a product or a company. I've had the pleasure of getting samples from some of these companies, but I found that they're all wonderful substrates and they each have a space for what you're trying to do. For this demonstration or product test, I am doing it for the sake of portraiture, pet portraits, people, more realistic painting with the paper. I understand that a lot of you do abstract the flowers, the beautiful blown wispy things. I wish I could do that, and I just have the hardest time. Imagine that. But anyway, so just keep in mind that I'm testing papers for what I do, which is painting with the alcohol inks. So without further ado, I'm going to take us to my table, and you can see. I'm just used to kind of seeing myself. I don't know what it is, why I'm doing this split screen, but I don't know, it makes me feel more comfortable. And I can feel like I'm actually talking to someone. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I have the top papers, really, which is Yupo, Nara. I was corrected on how to pronounce Nara. I say it Nara because I'm from Texas, but it's Nara. Grafix, Craft Plastic, Grafix Durabrite, Evo, which is kind of new to me, and Pixis is new to me. I think it's been around for a while, but as far as what I'm working with, I started out with the Yupo a year ago, and that's kind of where I've kind of gone. I just recently tested the Nara, and then I've been using the Grafix Craft Plastic for quite a while now with my pet portraits, and so I really enjoy that product. But anyway, we're going to go over this, and then I also have a new product that I want to talk to you about and kind of give you a little bit of a warning about that. And then also another product that I just discovered that's super affordable that you could get at your craft store. I get mine at Hobby Lobby. Great 99-cent sheet to practice on. If you don't want to get the tiles or the photo paper stack or whatever, you can get these. I'll talk to you about those later. So anyway, I'm just going to take you through what I usually do to test the papers when I get a sample. I'm going to be using, for the sake of this product test, I'm going to be using Ranger inks because most of us have Ranger inks. They seem to be the popular one. But I'm also going to be testing the Pinata ink, T-Rex ink, Bray Reese ink, and I have some Marabou. And the reason I'm doing that, because the ink on the paper, I never knew it does make a difference, and how it reacts. And I'm also looking at that as far as, you know, if it spreads or whatever. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with some with a yellow, and usually what I do is do a little dot to see what the initial ink does with the paper. So I'm going to do about the same amount of ink here and see how it reacts. I've done this video 3 times now. The first one wasn't complete. The second one, I actually accidentally deleted it, and so now I'm doing this the 4th time. I don't know what happened to the 3rd one. But anyway, it's super frustrating. So I had to get a new computer because everything crashed. But anyway, so, okay, first thing I want you to notice here is what the ink's doing, okay? With Yupo, it stays pretty steady, puddles up, doesn't go crazy or anything. Nara does the same thing. It kind of stays confined to the area. Grafix Craft Plastic spreads a little bit, you know. So does Grafix Durabrite. They're very similar paper, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then Evo paper. Let me see if I can get a better, seems like it's a little bit not true to color, but that color was sunshine yellow, if you can believe that. It looks a little green. But anyway, Evo, it does these little finger-like projections a little bit, but not too bad. And then Pixis, same thing. They're very similar, okay? As you can see, I've done these before, and that's what I'm using the cards that I made on the back side because I didn't want to waste paper. But anyway, let's keep going and let those dry a little bit. I'm gonna do now a second drop of ink, just one drop, and see what happens here. The reason my Yupo is curled is because it was in a roll, and so I like to buy the Yupo in a roll. I'm going to change this a little bit just so it gives us a better, clear picture. Okay. All right. Okay, so here we have one drop, and you see what's happening. The Yupo spread a little bit. The Nara stays really confined, really nice right there. Shows me just a little bit more control as far as the inks go. The Grafix spreads a little bit more, creates some neat effects if you're looking for effects here. That's pretty cool. And then the Evo spreads and it makes these little finger-like projections and a little bit. And then the Grafix Durabright, same thing, it just kind of stays, does its thing. And then the Pixis, see how different the different inks react with the paper. Okay, let's do a third mark here, and I sometimes actually do markings with the ink bottle itself, so I'm going to just make an S and see what happens. Same amount, just barely squeezing and see what happens. Well, okay. So again, you can see the difference of what's happening. I gave the same amount of pressure and the same amount of ink, and you know, it's doing some crazy things. Nara seems to be staying pretty stable, which I really like. Yupo, you know, they're all pretty much the same depending on what you are looking for. In terms of weights, I like a thicker paper. And we'll talk about that with the specific companies in a minute. I happen to have the Nara paper was a little thin. I got the thin stuff. So not crazy about thin paper. I really like a little tooth to it. I like a thicker, stable paper just for my own reasons. Pixis, I think, was the thickest paper, which was nice. Okay. And now I am going to put the different inks. We're going to start with Pinata, which is made by Jacquard, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but maybe somebody can tell me in the comments, Jacquard or Jacquard. Yeah, so I'm going to put a drop of the Pinata ink. I love Pinata. Pinata is just so rich with pigment. And I tell you, if you're looking for a good black to use, wow, it's my favorite. It's the Mantilla black Pinata. It's super, super thick. It doesn't go anywhere. It just creates just a beautiful black, true black. That's just my own recommendation. Okay, T-Rex, really, for me, a great value for what you get. I've gotten all of the different colors, and I don't want that to spread that much, but this is just one drop. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful ink, and great, great colors, great value. Have nothing bad to say about it. They're all great. They're depending on what you're trying to do, they're all great. And then this is Bray Reese. We get these at our local Joann's Fabrics or Hobby Lobby. If you're in the United States, I was thinking Hobby Lobby. Yeah, Hobby Lobby. If you're in the United States, Bray Reese is a pretty good ink as well. A little more affordable, I guess, than most. But again, depending on what you want to do. I think they're all pretty much the same. I think some of them maybe are a little more watery. I use them all in my painting. They all have a space. And then this is Marabou, not very popular What I've found with Marabou ink, especially the brown, is that when I mixed it with the other alcohol inks, it did not play well with the inks. And I'll show you examples too of the Marabou. I don't have very much of that, but I'll show you. This was the Marabou brown on Evo paper, and you see how it just, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but do you see how it kind of blotched up the face? I used multiple colors there, and you can see a little bit better here. It just didn't like the other inks. It kind of moved them out of the way, and yeah, I wasn't too happy with that, but anyway. Okay, so now I've got all these. I'm going to kind of put a line between these so we know what we're doing here. All right, so the first thing I like to do is take a little alcohol ink wipe, these little wipes, and see how it comes off to see if it stains. And you know, you hear about Yupo staining, and really it depends really on the ink too. You know, sometimes it'll stain, sometimes it won't. Let's try the Nara, famously known for its non-staining ability. Look at that. That's pretty cool. That didn't stain at all. That's really good. I kind of like a little bit of a residual stain, just because it sometimes it just kind of does an underpainting, and that's what Grafix Craft Plastic does. It leaves a little bit of residual. I don't mind it. Let's do Evo. Let's see how they do. Look at that. Evo does not want to come on. It really holds your color really well. And I'll tell you, that's a plus on some things, and it's a real negative on some things. So just remember that. If you need something to have residual stain like that, or a shape, Evo's the way to go. If you don't, and that really bugs you, then try a product that does not leave that residual, that halo effect or whatever. Grafix Durabright, we'll see what that does. Very similar to Grafix Craft Plastic. It leaves a little bit of a stain, but not so much, not so much. And then Pixis. Let's see what Pixis does. It stains a little bit, not too bad. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take this off so we can see a little bit better here. That's pretty good. Again, it depends on the ink that you're using. So that's one test that I do. So what I gather from here is that, yeah, so Yupo's going to leave kind of a ghost image or a ghost shape. That might be to your advantage, and it might not be. The other ones just kind of blend. Pixis does stain, and it leaves a little ghosting, and then Evo is very difficult to move, okay? So that's one thing you want to really watch. The next thing I like to do is see how they react with the alcohol blending marker, which seems to be pretty good here. This is just a marker that sometimes I like to remove the ink with the blending marker, and you can see that it does blend really well with Grafix Plastic. It's going to be pretty good here. Always clean your marker off. See how that works. Pretty good. Okay, Evo, let's try that now. Okay, with Evo, it's still ghosting. Do you see that? I like kind of what it's doing, but depends on your application. Let me show you close close of that. You can still see the ghosted image. Let's try Nara. And what I want you to notice with Nara is that the inks barely spread. Did you notice that? I mean, look at that. They stayed stable and true to their little spot. So that's pretty cool. Very different. Grafix Durabrite. Very similar. Sometimes I have to just like totally take a paper towel and clean that off. Let me get a paper towel. Okay. And then Pixis. Pretty good. Didn't stain. I mean, it blended off, but it didn't leave that ghost image, okay? So if you're trying to take that off, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. When you're doing skin, this works great. Works great. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is, I wanna show you the difference between, this was just a Master's Touch alcohol marker, a clear blender type thing. I got them at Hobby Lobby, I believe, or Michael's, or whatever. And then the difference between a Copic blender. Yeah, really great product. I'll show you the difference here. And this will just take it right off on some papers. See, it'll take it on some paper. See how it takes it right off? I love that. So, doesn't take it off of Evo, takes it off of Nara, takes it off of Grafix Durabrite, and Pixis leaves a little bit of a shadow. Not too bad. But you see the difference. I mean, that comes off like butter. These Copic markers, that's why they're more expensive. You get what you pay for. They're really, really good. So I don't have that many markers. I use them just for removal or detail sometime, but I don't have that many. So, but that's what I look for in a marker. Also, like this is a Copic cool gray color. If you're ever wanting to do detail, you can actually, move or remove color with these things, or, little details and stuff, which I find really cool. So it looks like they work really well. So you don't always have to have a blender. You can use, like this one is a cool gray #1 Copic marker. So just like if you're doing polka dots or whatever, or freckles on a face, this is a great way to use. If you don't have a blender, you can just use another color. So the Evo, see, it's not moving very well with the marker. The Grafix pretty well. The Yupo, it didn't spread or anything, which is good. The Nara, let's check it out. So we can do, what I find it fascinating is it didn't spread like the rest of them. It's pretty cool. Oops. Hello. I got my fan on, that's why those things are blowing. Okay, so that's Grafix, and then this is Pixis. So I usually just check to see if my markers work on top and what they do, okay? The next thing too is how, can you see graphite? I check graphite because sometimes I draw with graphite just to get the image down. That's pretty good, and that's going to come into effect with another paper that I'm going to show you in a second. That doesn't like the graphite, that doesn't like pencil mark. This really helps when you're drawing. When I'm doing live classes, I teach them how to transfer their image onto the paper, and so you want to hang on to these pencil marks. You don't want them to disappear, so that's good. The other thing I'm going to do is, let's move over to this side. I want to show you, and I'm going to put my respirator on so that I won't start choking and gagging. I use this all the time, unless I'm doing a class. But really encourage you guys to invest in a good respirator, because I don't know, I'm having some coughing problems and I'm wondering if it's the alcohol ink or not. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this on and spray, and then I'll take it off. Probably took it off too prematurely, but anyway. Okay. All right. So what I did there, I want to be able to see how the alcohol is activated, and I'm using 91% isopropyl, which is what most people use. Rubbing alcohol, it does not move the inks very well, in my opinion. But you want to check for reactivation. This really activated. In fact, too much, because I want to see the spritzes. You know, Yupo does a beautiful job of that. Notice the Evo didn't do much with alcohol reactivation. Now, this comes into play when you want to wisp and blow all those beautiful flowers that you guys do. That's perfect. I mean, it really works for the abstract. I've seen some beautiful abstract work on Instagram. Now look at this. Nara didn't do much. It's just staying there, true to its form. Doesn't go anywhere. That's actually pretty good. If that's what you're looking for. Okay. This one didn't activate that much either. It spread the ink kind of like its cousin, the craft plastic. And then the Pixis didn't do much. It did right here. But that's what I'm looking for, is that it spritz. It spritz really, really well. Okay, the next little test that I do is with alcohol lift. I don't know if you guys have used this before, but for my purposes, I use it a lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just do a little bitty line. Since that purple is a big purple, I'm going to do a little bitty line, and I'll show you how I use this. That's going to be interesting because Nara's not moving anything. I'll show you how I use this. What's interesting that I'm finding is that with the Nara, the ink is staying really, really nice and juicy thick, you know, and so you can go back and play with it and blend and really do some nice things when it's staying that thick, when the pigment's staying on there that thick. So that's a plus. Okay, so you can see how the alcohol lift is starting to work. I apologize for the glare we have here. I'll try to take care of it a little bit. And what I do is just, I don't move it around. If I want detail or something, try to just take it off with a paper towel. Otherwise, it's going to go everywhere and it's going to actually blend and remove some of your ink. So you don't want that. But do you see how it really, really, it does some neat stuff here? If you're trying to, I do it on like beards when I'm trying to do some negative space on the beards, or hair, or like the shine of the nose. I'll take some lift and take it out. And it's very, very effective. Also, it's a really good, almost like an overglaze. And let me show you what I mean. Sometimes if I want to like move the paint around, do you see how that, or the ink, you see how that works? I love it. But you got to let it dry because otherwise it'll just come off and smear everything. But this is a really good technique. You can move that stuff. Now look what's happening here. It didn't do anything. That's a surprise. It just kind of went everywhere because the ink doesn't spread. So just be aware of that, is that your Nara paper is going to keep things pretty confined in your area, which is, again, a great thing if you're doing fine detail. Not so much if you'll have to add a lot of alcohol to blow the thing, which I'm seeing beautiful, amazing work. I'm gonna learn how to do that. But anyway, here's what I'm trying to show you is that you can actually take that alcohol lift if you're trying to get part of that ink, a lighter version, unsaturated. You can do that with the lift, which is really, really nice. Okay. All right. I also like to see how it reactivates with a dropper, and we'll see how that works. I'm going to do it here on, well, let me do it on there. Why not? Just keep it consistent, and we'll see how it reactivates with the alcohol. You can see Yupo's doing great, Grafix. I mean, they all do somewhat reactivate. It's just how you want it to look. I get real, I don't like these little edges. So while it's still wet, I work them out. Sometimes it looks pretty cool, but sometimes that's not what you want. Like that, that's pretty cool. Look at the little burst it did right there. I mean, the neat thing about alcohol ink is that you get some cool effects that are uncontrollable. But with skin and stuff, I don't want to see all that globby stuff around there. So Nara it finally decided to move. So we'll just make a bigger ink blotch with that. Okay, all right, so there you go. This is how I test the paper. Really, they're all great, again, depending on what you want to do. Be aware that if you don't want this ghosted image from your original ink blot, you'll get that a lot with Evo and with Yupo. You see that right there. And that can be pretty frustrating if you're trying to blend skin, in my case, with Pixis as well. Okay, so let's talk about these companies, and I'll give you some examples of what I've done in the past with them. So Yupo is from Legion Paper, and I don't know why they call it Yupo. I wonder what that means. If somebody knows why they called it Yupo, or if that means something, I'd love to find out. But the Legion Paper, they've been around probably, I don't know, maybe the longest? I don't know. I really don't know. I shouldn't say that. But it was kind of the standard of alcohol ink for a long time. They come in different weights and different sizes and rolls, large quantity. If you ever want that, that's the way to go. I've got some translucent Yupo, and I teach classes with this because it's really nice to be able to put an image underneath and just paint right over it. So that's kind of nice. They've got the heavy pad. I got these back when Hobby Lobby was selling them. I love the heavy. And then the medium pad here. One of my first paintings was this. And remember when I was telling you about the lift? Well, that's how I blended his nose. It was kind of a happy mistake. I didn't know what I was doing, honestly, when I first started this a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago. But, and I wasn't aware that there was staining problems and stuff, so I was trying to get that off, and I couldn't, and I thought, uh-oh, that's why. This was in 2022, last year. And so, again, a blue dot under his ear, that might disturb you a little. Didn't really bother me, but if it does, be aware that Yupo will leave these ghosted images that you can't get rid of, which is sometimes frustrating, But that was one that I did with Yupo. Another one I did just recently was this one, and same thing. I didn't really like what happened around the hand. I couldn't get that off, and I'm sure if I tried some more, I could get it off. It just wasn't playing with me. But I did like the way, I'll show you, I did like the way the bottom did, the way it I don't know, reacted with itself. So again, you know, it depends on what you're after. I like some things and I don't like some things. I can work with some things and I can't work with some things. So that's Yupo. The Nara, I got a thin piece of Nara paper to test and really liked it. I mean, look, it didn't stain. It's true. Just a little bit there, but I haven't worked with it. This was really thin. I'm gonna try some of the thicker stuff. But really overall, the way it activated, and remember what I told you about the inks just staying really true. I think I used Pinata with this. I just loved it. It was so brilliant. Yeah, so nice product there with Nara. Grafix Craft Plastic is the one that I have been using for a little bit, about the last 2 years, and it's the one that I do my pet portraits with. So all my pet portraits, because that's all I knew really, and got used to it, really happy with it. Love the way it activates when you spritz it. Here's that black Pinata ink color. The whites stay true to the white. I mean, I just overall very happy with Grafix Craft Plastic. They also come in a black, and that's just another animal there, working with a black substrate. You have to, I have to layer. I layer everything, and you have to mix it with mixative or with white to get it to show up. But a really nice effect if you're looking for something like that to stand out. Yeah. And they come in one weight. The Grafix Craft Plastic is 200 grams. The lesser the gram, the lighter the paper. So like a 300 gram paper is going to be really, really thick and hard. The Durabrite White, like I said earlier, it's very similar to the Grafix Plastic. I'm not sure the difference. The weight is the same. Yeah, it behaves pretty similar. So Grafix company, if you can tell me what the difference is, that'd be wonderful. And then the Durabrite also comes in black. I think I did my first Raven. I was playing with it and really enjoyed that. The metallics look great. Overall happy with that. And then also the Duralar, which is from the Grafix company. This is also like the translucent Yupo, and you can, you know, look, the back side even looks really cool. Look who that is. Anyway, this is how I do my classes, and you can really look, you know, if you find a picture, go over it, transfer that, you know, or paint right over it. It's a good way to practice portraiture. That's the Grafix company. Let's see, let's talk about Pixis. Let's see, we did these two, those, Nara, okay, Pixis. Okay, so here's the Pixis. Pixis, if you notice, is 300 grams, and so their paper is really nice and sturdy. It's almost like a cardboard. I did Ronaldo with them. First time testing the paper, it did stain, but I mean, I worked with it. It was fine. It did everything that I wanted it to do. It reactivated, it held the color, it dripped the color. The stain was a little surprise, but I like it. I mean, and I really liked this one as well. It held the color really well. And then when I reactivate, it does what it should do. So I really enjoyed the Pixis. I'm not sure if they sell rolls or bigger pieces. I haven't even looked into it, but pretty happy with it. If you like this ghosted image, just buyer beware. You will get some staining with that. Yeah. And then Evo paper. I bought some big, large Evo paper, and accidentally spilled yellow under here, but I worked with it. The thing about Evo is that if you work too aggressively with it, which I do, it will remove the plastic coat on there. Let me tell you let me show you what I mean, if I can just get it to highlight. You see the inks and everything, but this area here, let me see if I can get it to shine. Oh, maybe not. It will remove it. And so once you remove that protective coating, y'all have to see what I'm talking about. Well, anyway, the ink does not adhere to that, so that can be a challenge. It worked for this one, but for another one, it absolutely drove me crazy. Yeah, I actually had to rework this one because once that paper loses its sheen, it is really hard to work with. In fact, I had to add some acrylic paint for it to adhere to the paper. So, and then here is a stain that probably I'm not crazy about, but I mean, it worked. I wanted it pretty loose and stuff. And here's where the staining is an advantage. What I was saying, see how that stained right there? I took it off and I couldn't take it off anymore, but it works as an advantage because it looks like his t-shirt shadow. So if you can work with it, that's wonderful. Okay, so that's Evo paper. Evo is a little drier is what I've noticed. It seems to be just drier. It's got a little tooth to it, and like I said, you know, it'll work if that's what you're after, but if you're wanting to, you know, be aggressive with it, because I take my brushes and I scrub. I really scrub. So Yupo does a great job of enduring my aggression, and so does Grafix, but Evo just, it didn't like what I was doing. So, okay, so there's two papers that I want to talk to you about that I just recently acquired. And one of them, I was actually entering a competition. And if you can see this here, I started her and realized what I'm talking about the plastic disappearing. You can see it probably better here. Do you see that? Do you see where it's like really, really shiny? It's because I started taking off the ink and there went the plastic coating, some type of coating. I don't know anything about plastic paper, but I know what works and doesn't work for my preference, and that did not work for me. You can actually even see right there too. Do you see that? And if you look here, you can see where that plastic coating is gone. And I had to start this all over again because that did not work for what I wanted. Now, this is called, and I'm not trying to put any company down at all. This is great practice paper. It's called Artfinity Synthesis. And it, I needed it on the fly, and I got it at a place called Jerry's Artorama, and they had it. You know, it was great. The size was great. But I tell you what, when that plastic comes off, that ink does not want to grip. And so just beware. If you get these sheets, they're great practice sheets and stuff, but for finished artwork, they did not work for me in particular. The last paper that I want to mention is something that I kind of by accident found out about, and it is, believe it or not, it is, you can see that right there. You see that? It's plastic poster board. This was 99 cents. 99 cents at Hobby Lobby or, you know, or any craft store. And I tested it really well. I did all kinds of stuff with it. I even stamped on it and I rubbed it and I wanted to see. And you know what? It's really actually pretty good. For testing, you can cut them up into little squares. 99 cents for a poster board size. Make sure it's plastic poster board. All you have to do is ask the sales rep. And so I ended up starting another little portrait here with the plastic poster board, and you have to layer it, but it will move and it will wipe off, and it doesn't stain. I mean, it's actually, for the money, it was a great investment. Now the backside is not workable. It does not. It's got a little texture to it, so only one side. And then if you have cats or whatever, you're gonna pick it up on the paper. It's kind of grungy. But you know what? For practicing plastic poster board, it's a great way to go. And you can really hone your skills for 99 cents. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this little product test with me, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the Facebook groups. I'm seeing a lot of beautiful work. And if you have any questions, I'm super easy to get a hold of through my social media accounts and through YouTube. If you want to leave a comment or a question, I'd be happy to help you out. Bottom line, you know what? I can't even say, I do have a favorite, but they are all good with different applications. It depends on what you want to do. You know, if this type of thing doesn't bother you, then go for it. You know, as far as being able to get the products, you can get things on Amazon, which is good. I don't have price comparisons because they're different worldwide. But either way, I wish you the best of luck in the substrate that you choose, and look forward to seeing your comments. Y'all have a great day. Hey friends, I did the replay and I realized I hadn't told you one thing about the plastic poster board that I want you to be aware of. It does not take pencil very well. I mean, if you'll notice that, it just doesn't. I don't know if it's because of the thickness or whatever. But so if you're trying to draw on there, no. And the graphic, maybe a graphite, it does a little bit better, but not so much. So this is really good for all that abstract stuff, but for the purposes of portraiture, a little tough, like for students and stuff, if you're trying to draw and retain your pencil marks. So just FYI, it doesn't really work for that. But anyway, that's all.